The day I found my 75-year-old mother, Evelyn, sobbing in our living room, clutching a notice that our electricity had been cut off during a blistering heat wave, I knew I had to act. The air was thick with tension as HOA President Victoria Hayes stood on my doorstep, her lips curled into a triumphant sneer, demanding I remove my solar panels or face crippling daily fines. She thought she held all the power, wielding the HOA's authority like a weapon. What she didn't know was that she was threatening the very man who wrote California's energy law she was brazenly violating. Her catastrophic misstep would unravel her world, costing her position, reputation, and even her home. 6 months earlier, I'd moved to Crestview Meadows, a pristine suburban enclave where every lawn seemed manicured with surgical precision. I didn't choose it for its suffocating conformity. Neighbors once reported someone for a mailbox painted the wrong shade of gray. I moved for Evelyn, whose chronic lung condition demanded stable temperatures her old apartment's failing air conditioning couldn't provide. My modest 2-bedroom home had central air, space for her medical equipment, and was a short drive from her specialists at Hillcrest Medical Center. It seemed ideal until summer hit, and our electricity bill skyrocketed to $412 in a single month. The air conditioner ran nonstop to keep Evelyn's room at the doctor-ordered 68 degrees. Watching her skip physical therapy to save money, claiming she was fine, broke me. I knew we needed a solution, and California's endless sunshine pointed to one: solar panels. After weeks of research, I chose Sunwave Energy, a trusted local company. Their consultant promised our south-facing roof would generate surplus power by noon most days. All I needed was HOA approval, a formality, they assured me, as they'd navigated HOAs before. I submitted a detailed application, complete with sleek renderings of black panels on our slate gray roof. The HOA promised a response within 14 days. 3 weeks later, after ignored calls, a curt letter arrived. My request was denied for not meeting community standards. No explanation, no appeal. I scoured the HOA bylaws, nothing banned solar panels. Furious but calm, I visited the HOA office, a cramped room in the community clubhouse. The assistant, Clara, looked frazzled. "You'll need to talk to Ms. Hayes," she said, her voice low. "She handles everything now." Something in her tone hinted at more than bureaucracy. At the next HOA meeting, I faced Victoria in a sterile room filled with weary residents. Holding my documentation, I cited the California Solar Rights Act, which bars HOAs from blocking solar installations. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Bennett, our committee prioritizes property values and aesthetics," she snapped, barely glancing at the law I handed her. "We'll take it under advisement." She moved on, dismissing me. In the parking lot, a neighbor, Greg Larson, approached. "That took guts," he said, shaking my hand. He revealed Victoria's 3-year reign of terror, denying every solar request. Oddly, he'd seen Grid Power Incorporated trucks at her house, suits coming and going. Why would our utility provider meet privately with the HOA president? That night, I spotted fine print on the rejection letter: Crestview Meadows HOA, in partnership with Grid Power. The word partnership gnawed at me. Fueled by suspicion, I dove into California's energy regulations. The Solar Rights Act was clear. HOAs couldn't block solar unless it significantly raised costs or reduced efficiency. My plan did neither. I delivered a formal letter to the HOA, demanding a response within 5 days. Clara accepted it, whispering, "She's on a call with Grid Power again." Her emphasis wasn't subtle. Days later, I noticed a Grid Power technician photographing my meter 3 times in a week, unprompted. When confronted, he mumbled about routine checks and fled. Greg confirmed no such visits at his home, then dropped a bombshell. Victoria, once an environmental advocate, had shifted after a corporate scandal cost her marketing job. "She's not who she used to be," he said. An emergency HOA meeting was called. Its agenda: a new bylaw banning visible energy devices on street-facing roofs. Only a dozen residents attended, mostly Victoria's allies. The vote passed in 7 minutes, ignoring the required 14-day notice. I protested, citing procedural violations, but Victoria smirked, claiming emergency aesthetic measures. As I left, Clara accidentally dropped her files, whispering, "Meet me at Whole Foods parking lot, 9 a.m. tomorrow." The next morning, she slipped me a USB drive in the cereal aisle, murmuring, "Sunrise Solutions, large payments, no services." She vanished before I could ask more. At home, the USB revealed a web of corruption: bank statements showing transfers from Sunrise Solutions to Victoria's account, Grid Power emails discussing a Crestview arrangement, and a contract naming Victoria as Sunrise's principal. It outlined payments for every kilowatt-hour above the community average. Victoria profited by keeping energy use high, blocking solar to ensure reliance on grid power. I contacted Laura Mitchell, a journalist known for exposing corruption. She was floored by the evidence. "This is a textbook kickback scheme," she said over coffee. As we spoke, I spotted Victoria dining with Grid Power CEO Richard Coleman across the restaurant. Eavesdropping, we caught fragments, contained Bennett he'll drown in fines. Richard seemed nervous, urging caution if I pursued legal action. The harassment intensified. Daily violation notices arrived: grass too tall by 1/8 of an inch, trash bins 2 inches off position, an unapproved garden bush. Fines piled up, and Evelyn's health faltered under the stress. One night, after an inspector trespassed to measure our patio furniture, I found her hiding her medication, planning to ration it to save money. "The fines, James," she whispered, tears in her eyes. I emailed every resident, detailing the harassment and urging them to attend the next HOA meeting. Then Evelyn's oxygen levels plummeted, landing her in the ER. As doctors stabilized her, a text from an unknown number arrived. "I have proof of 7 illegal payments to Hayes from Grid Power. Sunrise Cafe, 7 a.m. tomorrow." At the cafe, Clara dropped a USB into my sugar holder without a word. The drive contained damning evidence, including a spreadsheet tying solar rejections to Grid Power's revenue. Meanwhile, Laura uncovered Victoria and Richard's college ties and similar Grid Power schemes in 3 other HOAs. Then Grid Power struck. A notice claimed my home caused grid interference, requiring a 72-hour power cutoff during a heat wave, just as Evelyn was due home. Greg offered his guest room, but Clara forwarded a recording of Richard ordering the cutoff to break me. Laura's expose hit the news. Utility giant's secret HOA deal blocks solar. It detailed the kickback scheme, sparking outrage. By noon, TV crews swarmed the clubhouse, and Grid Power backtracked, ensuring my power stayed on. Victoria called an emergency meeting to address rumors. The packed room buzzed with anger. She called Laura's article "Yellow Journalism" and accused me of unauthorized home modifications, flashing doctored photos. Murmurs of doubt spread until Laura stormed in with Catherine Walsh, a state energy official. "Crestview violates the Solar Rights Act," Catherine declared, as Laura presented bank records and emails proving Victoria's scheme. Greg played a recording of Victoria plotting to fabricate evidence against me. The room fell silent as Victoria's ally, Richard, bolted for the exit. Desperate, Victoria screamed, "I control this HOA." But her board abandoned her. Laura dropped the final blow. "James Bennett, the man you're targeting, wrote the Solar Rights Act amendments protecting homeowners." Gasps echoed as I held up the draft bill, explaining my role as its author. Victoria's face drained of color. She targeted the one person who could dismantle her empire. Catherine warned her to get a lawyer, and a resident's motion to oust her passed overwhelmingly. Greg was named interim president, and in an hour, Victoria's reign collapsed. The aftermath was swift. Greg audited HOA finances, dismissing my fines. Evelyn returned to a transformed neighborhood, her smile radiant as our solar system slashed our bills by 80%. Grid Power's PR scrambled, pinning the scheme on Richard, who resigned. Their stock plummeted 12%, and federal probes loomed. Victoria vanished, her home seized for environmental violations, ironically slated for a solar-powered rebuild. Additional charges hit her for embezzling Grid Power funds. Laura's reporting earned awards, exposing Grid Power's schemes in 12 HOAs. My expertise led to a role leading California's Renewable Energy Task Force, closing loopholes Victoria exploited. Crestview embraced solar, with 30% of homes now powered by it, and dues dropped 20%. At a community celebration, I quipped, "They wanted my panels gone." I removed her instead. As I reviewed task force documents one evening, an email arrived. Another HOA, another utility scheme, begging for help. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. Sometimes, the greatest battles lead you to your true calling.